So as you guys are aware, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League was Warner Brothers' massive failure. Like, everybody talks about Suicide Squad and how much of a joke that game is and how it lost well over $200 million. And for some reason, this game is still pushing out season after season because at the end of the day, they had content that they had planned and they were going to keep pushing it out, blah, blah, blah. We already know all this, right? Well, there's one particular game that a lot of people haven't been talking about because obviously Suicide Squad took all of the press, right? It took all the negative press and all the negative energy, and nobody was talking about anything else other than Suicide Squad when it came to Warner Brothers. Well, we have another game that we need to talk about, and that happens to be Multiversus. Now, Multiversus is that game that they made to try to compete with Smash Brothers, but at the end of the day, they just recently announced that this game has costed them a $100 million impairment charge.
Stop the press.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, just like Suicide Squad cost Warner Brothers over $200 million of an impairment charge, Multiversus cost about half of that at $100 million impairment charge. This is huge news, and it's massive information coming out of Warner Brothers because it's not just Suicide Squad that's hurting them bad, and it's very clear that if they don't do something soon, things are really going to start looking bad for them after a while. So let's get into this article, guys, from Phantom Post. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. So it says Warner Brothers Discovery admitted that its platform fighter Multiversus failed financially as it took another $100 million impairment charge less than a year after it took a $200 million impairment charge following the financial disaster of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Now, I want you guys to put these numbers into your mind, okay? Because I don't think anybody can truly extrapolate how much these numbers actually mean. We are talking about $200 million loss in 1 year, and then we're talking about $100 million loss in the second year. In 2 years, that is losing $300 million. That is absolutely disgusting. There is not a single company out there, no matter how rich that company may be, there is no company out there that is going to take a $300 million loss in 2 years and not fire people. There's just no way. Heads are absolutely going to roll. We've already seen heads roll when it comes to Rocksteady. We've seen heads roll when it comes to Warner Brothers, but I think there's going to be more heads that are going to roll because $300 million is way too much damn money to be losing, no matter how damn rich you are. Warner Brothers Discovery previously admitted that Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League was a financial failure, with the company's chief financial officer Gunnar Weidenfels revealing during the company's first quarter earnings result webcast, stating the following: starting with studios, the $400 million year-over-year decline during Q1 was primarily due to the very tough comp that we face in games against the success of Hogwarts Legacy last year in the first quarter, in conjunction with the disappointing Suicide Squad release this past quarter, which we impaired, leading up to a $200 million impact to the EBITDA during the first quarter. It's absolutely insane. Now, Warner Bros. Discovery CEO David Zaslav shared that the company's entire games division is in fact struggling. He said, even in an industry of hits and misses, we must acknowledge that our studio business must deliver more consistently, and this applies to our games business, which we recognize as substantially underperforming its potential right now. Well, I'm glad that David Zaslav is actually able to sit there and look at things a little bit more objectively and say, you know what? We're just missing it, right? We're missing the mark. We're not hitting it with gamers. We're not consistent. We had a big banger with Hogwarts Legacy, and then we've had failures after that. Like nobody's going to take us seriously. Okay, we got one banger of a game, Hogwarts Legacy. What about everything else? We need to make every game a banger, or at the very least, we need to be more consistent across the board. And right now, we are anything but consistent. We're actually a laughingstock to a lot of these gamers that were very happy with our product, Hogwarts Legacy, only to get let down by something that they thought was going to be a single-player Arkham game, only to be given a live service piece of shit like Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. But then he said, he later would add, results were impacted by games for which we took another $100 million plus impairment due to the underperforming releases, primarily Multiversus this quarter, bringing total write-down year-to-date to over $300 million in our games business, a key factor in this year's studio profit decline. Bro, I honestly, I sit here and I look at these numbers and I think to myself, $300 million loss. on something that honestly that didn't have to happen, right? Like I would say more so for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League than Multiversus. I can understand they thought that they could bring Multiversus to the world and make it a smash competitor. I totally get that. Going after Nintendo, I understand. You took a risk and you lost, okay? $100 million loss, even though that's huge, it's one of those things where, okay, you tried something new, right? In the sense of you anyway, you tried to bring a competitor to the market, it failed, move on with your life, right? Suicide Squad, however, Kill the Justice League, that's something that you could have avoided, right? You could have avoided that. You made that game because you were greedy, and you made that game because you thought that live service was the way to go for that franchise. You decided to get rid of Arkham single-player games, and you decided to bring that version of those games, but to live service, and it tanked. It tanked majorly for a multitude of reasons, right? Forget all the woke shit. Forget SBI's involvement. The game tanked simply because the game was not functional in the beginning, right? Very buggy, very messy for damn near a month, turning off a lot of players that were trying to get invested in the game, but they couldn't. The servers were absolute trash. The game was littered with game-breaking bugs. So even if they wanted to give it a shot, they couldn't even do that. And then you add everything else on top of that too. You add Sweet Baby Inc.'s involvement as that whole thing blew up, and then you add all the woke shit with the storyline, and it's the weird like thing with, I don't know, Poison Ivy and Harley, like, bro, this shit was absolutely insane, and there was no reason for any of it to happen. All everybody ever wanted was another single-player Arkham game. That's all we wanted, and you decided to give players a live service bullshit version of an Arkham game that didn't even have the characters that they cared about. And then you sat there and thought that you were going to make this into $1 billion franchise. You really thought that. That's the hilarious thing. The developers and the executives over at Warner Brothers really thought that Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League was going to be a $1 billion franchise. With a B. I'm not kidding. And now they're sitting here losing $200 million and making anything less than $1 billion. You know what I mean? Like, they're not getting anywhere close to that $1 billion number. So they learned the hard way that gamers will absolutely speak with their wallets. And I'm proud to say that people are really doing that more often. Yeah, it wasn't like that in the beginning. Sure, people were buying games just because they couldn't help themselves. But the problem is people have such a big backlog now that they really don't mind voting with their wallet because they don't mind waiting. They don't have to be there day one for most of these games. So if you're not giving the gamers what they want and you're not enticing them at your maximum opportunity to profit, then you only have yourself to blame. You can't blame the gamer when you're the one out here doing this bullshit with your video games and expecting maximum return while you do it. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it if you get to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.